Les Schwab is proud to introduce two of our best tires ever just in time for summer. There's our exclusive open range AT that we believe is our quietest, smoothest, and best all-season traction tire ever. Or the Reputation, our exclusive high-mileage premium passenger tire. Get up to $150 instant rebate on 4 backcountry tires or $50 on 4 road control passenger tires. Les Schwab Tires. Doing the right thing matters. Click the banner to learn more. Cannot be combined with other offers. Limited time. Terms and conditions apply. Details at leschwab.com.
High capacity, fully automatic, large caliber, freedom. Mojo 50.
Politics, entertainment, and more. Welcome to The Informant. Independent talk, pursuing truth, informing everyone. Now, here is The Informant, Eric-Thompson.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to The Informant. Thank you again for joining me for another week here on mojo50.com, going out over iHeartRadio and Spreaker. As I sit here Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock out here on the West Coast, and good morning to those of you out on the East Coast. Welcome to The Informant. If you ever want to get a hold of me, there's several ways you can do it. You can head over to mojo50.com, click on the silver microphone for shows, click on Informant Show. You can hear all of my previous broadcasts. You can also head over to my website, the-informant.com. And lastly, if you want to chat with me and connect with me, I prefer to use my social media platform instead of Facebook. So head over to Make America Godly Again book.com or Make American Great Again book, magabook.com. Thank you for listening. I've been doing shows like this for quite a while, and obviously politics is something that you like to probably hear about, and I like to talk about. But the problem that I'm seeing is, my wife and I had a good talk tonight, is that if you go back to 1620, the reason why the Mayflower headed over and half the people died, and they still thought it was worth it because when they thought they were going to end up in Virginia, but they floated down because of the storm down to Massachusetts. Before they got off the boat, they said, well, half of us are pilgrims, and we're going to write down why we're here, so there's some type of law and order once we get to shore. So they wrote the Mayflower Compact, coming up on 400 years ago next year. The purpose was that they said, well, we're here. The King James, let us come over here, so we're still loyal subjects to the crown. But we came here so we could worship the Christian God freely and the advancement of the Christian faith. So when you go up through the Declaration of Independence, the Revolutionary War, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, immediately printing Bibles with government money, chaplains, Supreme Court justices, and of course, this is a Christian nation. Without the Bible, there's really no permanent truth. There's nothing that can be pointed to. So when we fast forward, we all know, if you listen to the show, you listen to mojo50.com, you listen to Rush, Sean, any of them, we all know that the globalists with the Koch brothers and Soros have for decades, ever since Operation Paperclip after World War II, Department of Education, the Prussian system based off of Germany from actually the 20s, which allowed Germany and Hitler to put out the Third Reich because they said, look, we got to get the kids to just listen and obey, so we're going to put in a kind of a loyalty to the state mentality in the youth. Well, we've even lost that in this young last couple of generations in America. What we're living in is half the country Christian, the other half is a mixture of Buddhism, Muslims, atheists, agnostics, whatever you want to call it. So while we're having these discussions about President Trump, who's been turning back some of the efforts from the globalists to minimize the United States of America, this once bastion of Christianity, this light on a hill, the one that set up charities and in Christ's name and colleges, Harvard and Yale, and we're the most giving nation in the world, and Samaritan's Purse and everything. But while all this is going on, underneath, you have the separation of church and state people, this hatred of God, this hatred of Christianity, and they've just been picking on small cities and small governments and forcing them to quit saying the prayer before they open their meetings, and firing coaches for praying with his players after the game voluntarily, and trying to prevent students from speaking at their commencements under their First Amendment protections. But they'll turn the microphone off them or say, you can't do this. Or if a kid does a paper at school, hey, write a paper on the most important person in your life. Well, Jesus Christ, you can't say that. Why do I say all that? Because this is what I've been processing lately, but it really came to a head today. I have been monitoring, analyzing in part of politics pretty much from the time I was 8 years old, Reagan and Ford. And only in the last 10 years, I've been doing radio on and off and, involved in things. So I'm pretty much up to speed on the deep state and, the previous Reagan Democrats, Democratic Party, Party of JFK, now turned into this Marxist party, which we call the left. So they're moving farther left, which makes people that are have traditional values like me and you, we become far right because they've moved the line far left. So what I'm going to be doing on the show moving forward, tonight we're going to go over President Trump, and he got sick of Cummings calling out ICE and Border Patrol and the conditions of the detention centers, which we know are lie, and AOC's been lying about them, and he got sick of it. So President Trump, as he does, he came off really strong and told Representative Cummings, chairman over the Oversight Committee, you're a bully. You're bullying ICE, Border Patrol. Why don't you go to your rat-infested, disastrous city of Baltimore, fix it, and leave ICE alone? Well, of course, the leftists said, well, he only did that because he's a black representative. So if it was a lesbian, it would have been President Trump attacks lesbian congresswoman. The reality is America cannot be great again if you are like me and you say 70s, 80s, 49 states voted for Reagan, the bicentennial of 1976, Christianity, homosexual marriage or abortion up to 9 months. All those never was going to happen in our country. Now, we get flooded with people from around the world. We got the leftists saying it's racist to stop them. We got people from Africa and China. We got terrorists coming across. We've got human trafficking, disease, everything. National debt's out of control. We got attacks on free speech, on religious liberties, on Second Amendment. Technology's listening to people having sexual relations because they're too stupid to realize that stupid device they put in their house. Alexa listens. But we need to get back to, I, as a Christian, can say what I want. If it offends an atheist, if it offends a homosexual, if it offends a Muslim, if it offends a Buddhist, as long as I'm not calling for harm. The Bill of Rights says the government shall not establish a religion or prevent the free exercise of. But when in America, they're advancing Islam as they're squashing Christianity. And if we're going to make America free again, which is what I think would be a good, maybe a little better slogan. Because I just set up freedomgear.store. We're going to have that going in a week or two. But I'm about freedoms. That's really what The Informant is about. I'm about restoring constitutional and Bill of Rights freedoms because they are unalienable and they come from God, and they've been limited by the left, and we don't do anything about it because we're too busy trusting one man, President Trump, to overcome the attempted impeachment. Because now a poll came out from Fox that now more people than not are okay with impeachment, even though there's nothing to impeach on, because the mob rule is worked up right now. The Koch brothers, these are libertarians. They like open borders, cheap labor. They're throwing a bunch of money at trying to stop President Trump from stopping the refugee programs, even though it costs us over $1 billion a year, because we bring people in. They don't speak English. They're not talented. And when it comes to labor skills, so they come here and they immediately get on welfare, and they do not assimilate, but they don't care. See, the left doesn't want white Christians or Mexican Christians, but especially white Christian males, because we will fight for traditional America. They want people from Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, which we have really good news on. The safe country status of Guatemala finally came through, so that we'll get to that. But we have got to say, freedoms. No, you're not going to tell Christians what they can and cannot say. No, you're not going to exalt Islam while trying to diminish Christianity down to below even constitutional protections. We're going to get back to talking to free and to stopping this invasion that's happening, and start to take an assessment and say, what do we, the people that are here, want? It's up to we, the people. It's not up to the government to decide who comes in the country. That's why 2020, we have to rewrite the immigration laws and get the power back to us. There's a story of a guy, I'm not going to have time to play it, but he was, for 16 years, he's been going around the Capitol, laying his hands on the buildings and saying, God, please bless the president. That would have been Obama, whoever's in office. Go to the next building. Please bless the Congress, bless our country. For 16 years, Secret Service would come around. What are you doing? I'm praying. Oh, good. We need more prayer. Not now, though. This guy, he's doing what he's been doing for 16 years. A woman, Secret Service agent, pulls up. What are you doing? Praying. She goes, what medications are you on? What's wrong with you? Why would you be doing that? Oh, she calls for help, and they arrested him. All right, we're at the station break. You listen to The Informant here on mojo50.com. Please share the show, The Informant, with your friends and family, and all the shows on the network 24 hours a day. Then head over to magabook.com. Let me know your thoughts on the show. But again, thank you for listening to mojo50.com on iHeartRadio. So the guy who was just praying, businessman in D.C., praying for the country, been doing it for 16 years. Everyone's been okay with it, but not anymore. Now the boss shows up and says, we're going to arrest you because you're walking around the building saying you're praying for people and you must be on medication. There's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you that you're praying. What, like, and touching a building. So we're going to put you in jail. Well, of course, he said the most miserable night of his life. They let him out at 5 a.m. Oh, you can go. No, you're not guilty. But then they called the White House, but we're not letting this guy in the White House because he's crazy. City halls around the country, take those 10 Commandments down. This separation of church and state groups and all this. We're going to sue you, city, if you open that meeting with the prayer. You need to fire that coach because he prays with the students voluntarily after games. You just got to get this out. But if they want to have a Buddhist class to try to open their minds to diversity, you can have that. That's constitutional. Oh, the kids want to take a ride to a mosque, or they're going to want to have to wear a burqa at school to get accustomed to, and so they can understand better the Muslims, then that's okay in school to wear garbs and to know the 5 pillars of Islam. So President Trump is not going to make America great again. We, the people, collectively can make America godly again. And if you don't want to be godly, then at least you're going to respect our views, and we're going to respect the fact that this is not a theocracy, and you don't have to. But it has to get back to balance. You don't take away our rights to facilitate or to help people who choose not to believe to feel safe. That's not how it's supposed to work. All right, let's dive in here. I told you the new Fox poll, buried bombshell. Fox News poll shows only 45% of Americans oppose impeachment. In June, the poll showed that 50% of Americans favor beginning an impeachment inquiry, including 7% who said Trump should be impeached but not removed as president. But he didn't do anything. Mueller's report said he didn't do anything. But it doesn't matter, because the left wants him out. But if you look at the poll numbers, CNN collapsing, MSNBC collapsing, they're all collapsing because people know they're just keeping them angry so they can sell advertising. At a certain point you go, this is actually kind of embarrassing. Just like you said Hillary was going to win. Well, this isn't going to happen. But when they polled the right type of people, we don't know who was who in the poll. Oh yeah, I saw Snapchat and President. Oh, he's so guilty, so we're going to have to impeach him. We have to get back to just traditional America. Use our brains a little bit. Well, here's an article from Gateway Pundit. Exclusive. Obama's CIA director Brennan visited Europe in November of 2016 after the presidential election. Who have I been saying was the spear? Who was the tip of the spear? Who was the one leading the Russia hoax? John Brennan. As he was getting instructions from Barack Hussein Obama. I can't prove that, but here's the article. Many believe that Obama's former CIA director, John Brennan, was the architect of the Trump-Russia collusion hoax. We've uncovered, this is Gateway Pundit, that Brennan visited European leaders shortly after the 2016 election, and we have to ask, for what purpose? Former U.S. Attorney Joe DeGeneva discussed his thoughts after the Mueller testimony in front of Congress last week. He confirmed much of what has already been posted. Quote, by the way, just remember, John Brennan was the tip of the spear. This was his conspiracy from day one. John Brennan, don't forget the name. He's at the end of this he's at the beginning of the entire conspiracy. So what happened is he ran over. There was a former CIA director, Sabrina D'Souza, who false charges was brought against her, and he went over and he could have helped her get released, because what was happening was they were trying to send her to an Italian prison. But the question is, it says D'Souza believes that before the 2016 election, Obama's CIA was significantly emboldened by Brennan taking over all national security issues. You realize that? He was over everything, where he had enormous latitude to do what he wanted, knowing Obama, and then Clinton would have his back. In his efforts to exonerate herself from false charges in Italy, D'Souza claims that she was helped by U.S. Representative Devin Nunes, who said she also had some Portuguese ancestor. Nunes tried 3 times to intercede on her behalf while she was in Portugal, but this was all denied by Obama. Obama gave the impression, though, through his actions, he did not care if all U.S. intelligence employees were in prison for false crimes around the world. If she would have been sent over to Italy, Italy has very strong internal protections. If she would have got in there, then they would not have to report that she was there. So Brennan didn't get her out. So she's trying to let AG Barr know, because President Trump got her out. Hey, you're going to have to, AG Barr, you're actually going to have to go over to Italy, and you're going to have to meet with the Prime Minister, Conte, because he's the only one that can declassify her case or can help people get out of the jails. So Brennan went over, meets with leaders. He's not letting CIA people get out, falsely accused, whatever. He just wants everybody to just be silenced as he's trying to coordinate with Italy, because we know that they fired some of their people because they were involved in the Russia hoax, and Australia. But Brennan immediately after election said, I got to get overseas and protect us and make sure everybody's silent, because we're in trouble if this information gets out. So keep an eye on John Brennan. Another story here. This is what I'm talking about. The deep state. President Trump's under a constant attack because the angry, atheistic, narcissistic, Marxist left, they have to get rid of him because President Trump is defending the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. He's protecting Christian rights. He's protecting the life of the unborn to the highest degree that he can, in lieu of or in spite of Roe v. Wade. So here's another one. You think that the left is done going after President Trump? No, here's New York Times. A federal inquiry of Trump friend focused on foreign lobbying. 7 hours ago. As Donald J. Trump was preparing to deliver an address on energy policy in May of 2016, Paul Manafort, his campaign manager, had a question about the speech contents for Thomas Barack Jr., a top campaign fundraiser and close friend of Mr. Trump. Quote, "Are you running this by our friend?" Unquote. Mr. Manafort asked in a previously undisclosed email to Mr. Barack, whose real estate investment firm does extensive business in the Middle East. Mr. Barack was, in fact, coordinating the language and a draft of the speech with Persian Gulf contacts, including Rashid Al Malik, an Emirates businessman who is close to the rulers of the UAE. The exchanges about Mr. Trump's energy speech are among a series of interactions that have come under scrutiny by the federal prosecutors looking at foreign influence over his campaign, his transition, and early stages of his administration, according to documents and interviews with people familiar with the case. Mr. Brock's spokesman, Owen Silver, said that in an Expectations article, Mr. Brock's lawyer had again contacted the prosecutor's office and confirmed they have no further questions for Mr. Brock. He's not accused of wrongdoing. His aides have never worked on behalf of foreign states or entities. Asked about the status of the inquiry, representative from the U.S. State's Attorney Office in Brooklyn declined to comment. So for 2 years, talking, and they go, well, wait a minute. President Trump was friends with this Brock, and he had $1.5 million from Saudi Arabia, UAE investments. And so, never know. Maybe President Trump's doing the bidding of Saudi Arabia or something. They're going to keep pushing it and pushing it. At some point, and I covered this on Friday's show, but at some point, we the people are going to collectively say, enough is enough. If my Christian views based off the Bible have a list of people according to Scripture that are not going to heaven because of their lifestyle, I should be allowed to say that. I should be allowed to say that adultery is against God's word. Abortion is against God's plan for mankind. It is sin. Well, here, President Trump's been cleared. Oh, President Trump's going to save the day. Well, if you got half the country now in the poll going, well, maybe they should impeach him, but just don't kick him out like they did with Clinton, because, he must have done something for all these people to be blowing all this noise all over. It's not true, but he must have. So here we go. This is from Reuters. Trump tells black lawmaker to clean up disgusting rat and rodent infested district. This is the news of the weekend. President Trump hit out at a prominent African-American critic. It's irrelevant, but this is Reuters, so we have to talk about his race. So when we get back from the break, we're going to talk about President Trump hitting out at a prominent African-American critic, calling him a bully. Is he? Well, we'll talk about it when we get back. Don't go anywhere. My name's Eric Thompson. This is The Informant. Be back in a few minutes.
Hi, it's Doc Thompson for Matthew 25 Ministries. Matthew 25 Ministries is one of the few charities I'll actually endorse because I know them. I've worked with them, and I know almost all of the money that you donate goes to help people. Go to m25m.org, m25m.org.
Never Forgotten Apparel is more than just a premium women's and men's clothing line. It's a movement to remind us to wear American-made and serve those who serve us. Our heroes. Never Forgotten Apparel gives 20% of their total sales to nonprofits that support homeless veterans and off-duty firefighters, and 50% to individual veterans and firefighters in need nationwide. Check out neverforgottenapparel.com. Use promo code MATT, M-A-T-T, and get 15% off your purchase.
Hi, this is Lee Colan with your Leadership Matters Minute. You know, your leadership starts with your integrity. In fact, it starts and ends with your integrity. If you don't have integrity, then no one's going to follow you. And if no one's following you, guess what? You're not really leading. I'm reminded of this every day when I read this poem that's on a poster on my son's wall that a good friend gave to him years ago. And it's by a guy named Frank Outlaw that used to own a chain of grocery stores in Texas. And here's what it says. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. And watch your character because it becomes your destiny. So if you want to have a great leadership destiny, make sure you're leading with integrity, watching your thoughts, your words, and your actions every day. I'm Lee Colan, and this is your Leadership Matters Minute. For more tips and tools, text the word leadership to 444-999.
Having an extra supply of food on hand is just smart. Some people call it prepping. I call it smart. You never know what's going to happen in this world. Go to mypatriotsupply.com. You'll find out a lot of good reasons to have that food and some great prices. mypatriotsupply.com.
Welcome back. Your favorite independent talk show continues. Here again is Eric Thompson, the Informant.
Thank you so much for staying with me. Welcome back to The Informant. This is Eric Thompson over on mojo50.com, going out over iHeartRadio and Spreaker. Thank you for joining me. The first part of the show, I was kind of having a little diatribe because I am sick and tired as a Christian who happens to be someone who's involved in monitoring or reporting on or trying to cause political action that I have to... Well, okay, you can do you like President Trump, and then your side says, we hate President Trump, and then I say, what has he done? They say, well, he's a racist, and then, but at some point, it's like, you know what? My worldview is, you kill babies, you are a murderer. If you want to reclassify marriage, that is between you and the state, but has nothing to do with my Christian faith. I just have to tolerate it because I don't live in a theocracy. So what we're talking about right now is President Trump. He got sick and tired of a prominent African American, because that's important. And this is why. This isn't from Reuters. President Trump hit out a prominent African-American critic on Saturday, calling him a, quote, brutal bully, unquote, who should concentrate on cleaning up his, quote, disgusting, rat and rodent-infested, unquote, Baltimore district rather than criticizing the work of U.S. immigration officers on the Mexican border. Trump's target in a series of early morning tweets was U.S. Representative Elijah Cummings, Democratic chairman of the House of Representatives Oversight Committee, who has called Trump a racist and sharply criticized his immigration policies. Well, there's your issue right there. They've been calling President Trump a racist. Now you realize President Trump, and I've been following Donald Trump for a long time, had never been identified as a racist before until he started running for president. So Elijah Cummings has been calling him a racist. Ocasio-Cortez has been calling President Trump a racist. Kamala Harris has been calling him a racist. Cory Booker has been calling President Trump a racist. He was never a racist. He did speeches with Jesse Jackson before he ran for president, with Al Sharpton. Not a racist. But now he's a racist, according to Elijah Cummings. So when you do that, President Trump has kind of a history of, if you hit him, he's going to hit you back much harder. So this article continues. Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi responded to Trump by calling Cummings a champion for civil rights and economic justice, and added in a tweet, quote, "We reject racist attacks against him and support his steadfast leadership," unquote. What was racist about? You should concentrate on cleaning up your disgusting rodent infested Baltimore district rather than criticizing the work of U.S. immigration officers on the Mexican border. Where is the race in that? Where's the racism? Where could you extrapolate race out of that? Because Nancy Pelosi says we reject racist attacks. On Thursday, the Oversight Committee voted 23-16 along party lines to allow Cummings to issue subpoenas to White House officials, including Trump's daughter Ivanka Trump and son-in-law Jared Kushner. Later Saturday, Trump signaled his anger with Cummings' committee's effort, writing in another tweet, "The Democrats spend all of his time trying to hurt innocent people through oversight." President Trump, a Republican, took aim at Cummings' criticism. Quote, Representative Elijah Cummings has been a brutal bully, shouting and screaming at the great men and women of Border Patrol about conditions at the southern border, when actually his Baltimore district is far worse and more dangerous. His district is considered the worst in the U.S., Trump tweeted. Quote, the border is clean, efficient, and well run, just very crowded. Cummings' district is disgusting, rat, and rodent-infested mess. If he spent more time in Baltimore, maybe he could clean up this very dangerous and filthy place. Another tweet, Trump questioned why so much money was spent on Cummings' district, which covers the downtown area of the city of Baltimore, about 40 miles northeast of Washington, when it's considered the worst run and most dangerous place in the United States. No human being would want to live there. Where is all this money going? How much is stolen? Investigate the corruption mess immediately, President Trump wrote. Completely unacceptable. Now, here's how this article has to tie in. Because Cummings last week, he slammed Trump's acting security director, Kevin McAleenan, over conditions at the U.S.-Mexican border facilities. You feel like you're doing a great job, right? Cummings asked during a congressional hearing. What does that mean? What does that mean? When a child is sitting in their own feces, can't take a shower? None of us would have our own children in that position, which caused President Trump to get angry. Now, they're saying here that Trump's attack follows his broadside 2 weeks ago against 4 congresswomen of color. Of course, not just 4 angry liberal women that are constantly attacking him. He does it because he's a racist. Remember, never was a racist, but now he's a racist. Well, here's an article from the Daily Wire. Trump doubles down on Baltimore attacks. Democrats always play the race card. On Sunday, President Trump fired back after Speaker of House Nancy Pelosi accused him of racism for criticizing the dilapidated condition of Representative Elijah Cummings' Baltimore congressional district. Quote, someone please explain to Nancy Pelosi, who was recently called a racist by those in her own party, there's nothing wrong with bringing out the very obvious fact that Congressman Elijah Cummings has done a very poor job in his district in the city of Baltimore, unquote. President Trump wrote in a series of early morning tweets. Look, the facts speak far louder than words. The Democrats always play the race card, when in fact they have done so little for our nation's great African-American people. Now, lowest unemployment in U.S. history and only getting better. Elijah Cummings has failed badly. Do you see any problems with those statements when you have the chairman of the Oversight Committee harassing the director of Homeland Security? When you go online, you can see the videos, you can see the trash and the rats and the just despair that his district's in. So what happens here is the left, they claim racism, but President Trump just brought to attention another failed Democratic city. And this is when people, President Trump's killing his re-election efforts. No, he's pointing out that liberals destroy things they touch. That's why 2016, the DNC, they voted to remove God, and then they did a fake vote to put him back in by voice, which you can see online. They didn't vote him back in, but the person with the gavel said, okay, who's for putting God back in? Yay. Who's for keeping God out? Yay. By my determination, the put back ins have it. Boo. Godless, open borders. They want non-assimilation. They don't care about people that get killed, maimed, human trafficked, drugs, anything from illegal aliens, because it's all about power. So President Trump, very simply, here's another tweet. Representative Elijah Cummings has been a brutal bully, shouting and screaming at the great men and women of Border Patrol, when actually his Baltimore district is far worse and dangerous. We talked about that one from Saturday. And then for them to say that Cummings has been a champion for civil rights, what has he done? Look at Philadelphia. Look at Atlanta. Look at these areas, of large urban areas with black communities where they're throwing water on police. New York City. Sean Hannity said his friend's a police officer. New York got acid thrown in his face, blinded one of his eyes. He had to retire. Before President Trump, where were the strides? Where are the unemployment numbers showing that the black community is doing better? The shootings went through the roof in Chicago during Obama's years. Well, here's an article from Town Hall. Baltimore resident confirms Trump's claims about the city and places blame on Cummings. This is from Beth Bauman. President Donald Trump chided Representative Elijah Cummings, Democrat, Maryland, on Saturday for shouting down his acting Secretary of Homeland Security, Kevin McLennan, over conditions in detention camps during a hearing last week. Democrats were quick to come to Cummings' aid, saying that he's a beloved leader. Representative AOC even made the case that Cummings has made the country better. Really? Okay. While all of Cummings' so-called accomplishments look great to the Democratic Party, one of his residents, Michelle, completely agrees with what President Trump said. Quote, President Trump said was definitely true, Michelle said in a video. Quote, Cummings, has not done anything for us for the last, I think he's been in office for over 20 years, unquote. Quote, 30, unquote, a person behind the camera said. 30? Okay. So I was like 18 back then, and he hasn't done a thing for us. Now, this is a black American. No cookouts. No shoe giveaway. No clothes giveaway. Nothing, Michelle explained. Michelle gave credit to Kimberly Klakic for posting previous videos of what Baltimore actually looks like. She said Klavic's videos exposing what Baltimore actually looks like with trash and rodents has done more good for the city than Cummings has done in 30 years in Congress. As far as housing and everything goes, like I said, he's never done anything, not even for one person that I know of, unquote. Michelle explained, quote, I never heard anybody say anything about him. The people want to talk about Donald Trump. Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that. This man Cummings he's over here taking care of people at the border. We're hungry. We need a place to stay. We feel like we're in a concentration camp. It's just sad. He's more worried about them, illegal aliens, than his own people. It's just crazy, unquote. According to Michelle, the last time her neighborhood was thriving was back in 2003. That's a long time ago, and that's just sad. She explained, quote, they just want to take the houses that look nice on the outside and come around and film houses that look nice on the outside, but really don't nobody live in them houses, and they're tore up from the floor, unquote. Michelle was then asked what she thought about CNN's Victor Blackwell defending Baltimore and saying President Trump's a racist for slamming Cummings' lack of action. Quote, Trump's not a racist, not to my knowledge. I'm glad he pointed it out. I'm glad that Trump put Cummings on blast because people in the West have put him on blast for years, ever since he's been in office, unquote. She said, quote, he's never done anything for us. According to Michelle, the rats didn't show up and her city did not become what it did overnight. These houses just get torn down like they've said, like this. She explained, quote, if he took time to come out and come over here and see how things are, maybe he'd do a better job, unquote. You can see the video. Ryan Saavedra posted it over on Twitter. So, who's telling the truth? Well, let's look at some hypocrisy here and some lying. This is from Daily Wire. Watch. Democrat Baltimore mayor caught on camera complaining about rats and dead animals last year. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Black mayor complaining about rats and dead animals last year. Cummings has been in office for about 30 years. Maybe President Trump's right that Cummings should be working with the mayor, Catherine Pugh, and fix Baltimore instead of spending time attacking the Border Patrol, who's trying to deal with an invasion because the left has been inviting them to come up, promising through their surrogates, just get to the border, claim asylum, and you will get free stuff, and you can go be with your families. Well, this article from Ryan Saavedra. As the media and Democratic Party tries to portray President Donald Trump's tweets about Baltimore as a racist, a resurfaced clip from last year's shows Democratic Baltimore Mayor Catherine Pugh complaining about the poor conditions in parts of the city, specifically, quote, rats and dead animals, unquote. Pugh made the remarks during a Fox 45 segment while touring a Baltimore neighborhood that was supposed to highlight her violence reduction initiative. As Pugh toured the neighborhood, she said, quote, what the hell? We should just take all this SHIT down. Wow, you can smell the rats. Woo! Jesus' name in vain. Oh my God, you can smell the dead animals, unquote. The viral video clip came in response to media figures and Democrats falsely claiming the president's tweets on Saturday were racist. Nowhere in Trump's tweets did he refer to race as he called out the poor living conditions inside Democratic Representative Elijah Cummings' district. So why would they keep pointing out race? Because they're failing. And they want to get the eyes off of how poorly they're doing, and they want them to get them looking at President Trump. This is why we have got to do a really good job in pointing out to people, here is the reality of Los Angeles. Here's the reality of San Francisco, Fresno, Baltimore, D.C., Chicago. They've been run by Democrats for decades, and they're a disaster. Homelessness is growing. Drug use is growing. Feces all over. Portland, Seattle. Schools are failing. So here's an article. Now listen to this. Baltimore, according to Cummings. Oh, it's beautiful. We're running it great. Now the mayor, she kind of screwed up dropping the S word, and saying Jesus' name in vain and God and smelling the dead animals and the rats. But that was last year. But, she didn't really mean that, of course, because Baltimore's beautiful. I mean, why wouldn't it be? It's run by Democrats, all Democrats. Elijah Cummings, he's a chairman of the oversight committee, so he brings money back to the state, and he lives there downtown. So, of course, President Trump must be making stuff up because there's no way that it's bad. Well, but the mayor said it was. So, well, now listen to this. Unions run the education system, and they have a big presence in Baltimore. Now listen to these numbers. This is from the foxbaltimore.com, Fox 45 News. May 17th. This is from a couple years ago, and it's gotten worse, but listen to this. A Project Baltimore investigation has found 5 Baltimore City high schools and 1 middle school. Okay, listen to this. Does not have a single student proficient in the state tested subjects on math and English. I didn't say he only has 100 or 10. I mean, out of 6 schools, how many? Because the teachers' unions and great teachers, and and they got tenure, and they care about the students, and they're caring about their communities, and they're just part of that Baltimore pride. But the Channel 45 News is called Project Baltimore. Out of 5 Baltimore City high schools and 1 middle school, not a single student was proficient in the state-tested subjects of math and English. The article says, we sat down with a teen who attends one of those schools and has overcome incredible challenges to find success. Navon Warren grew up in West Baltimore. He was 3 years old when his father was shot to death. Before his 18th birthday, he would lose 2 uncles and a classmate, all gunned down on the streets of Baltimore. I've just lost a lot of people, so I'm used to it. It hurts, Warren said. Quote, I just chose not to show it. I just kept it in. You just got to live with it and keep on going every day. You have to do it somehow, unquote. Despite his tremendous loss, Warren is set to graduate this year from Frederick Douglass High School. It's a school where only half the students graduate and just a few dozen go to college. Last year, not one student scored proficient in any state testing. Quote, that's absurd to me. That's absurd to me, unquote, said Warren's mother, Janelle Nelson. Quote, that's your teacher's report card. Ultimately, unquote. Project Baltimore found Frederick Douglass is not alone. 4 other high schools and 1 middle school also had 0 students proficient. Schools are Booker T. Washington Middle School, Frederick Douglass High School, Achievement Academy at Harbor City, New Era Academy, Excel Academy at Francis M. Wood High, and New Hope Academy. High school students are tested by the state in math and English. Their school scores place them in one of 5 categories. A 4 or 5 is considered proficient, and 1 through 3 are not. At Frederick Douglass, 185 students took the math test last year, and 89% fell below the lowest level. Just 1 student approached expectations and scored a 3. You hear this? Despite the challenges at school, Warren found a path to higher education. He's the reigning Baltimore City 50 and 100 freestyle champion who competed at the Junior Olympics, finishing in 4th place in the fall. He will leave the streets of Baltimore and head to Bethany College in West Virginia, where he will swim. I'm excited to get out of here, excited to start a new chapter in my life. Warren told Fox 45 he believes 0 students are proficient at Frederick Douglass because the state tests are more advanced than what the students are learning in class. There you go. That's what you call setting the students up for success, right? Don't teach them what they need to pass a test. It's going to teach them something easier so we can get them through school. So there's Baltimore. So try to think wider. President Trump comes out hard when he was attacked defending the Border Patrol. He said, just look at the facts. Your city is a disaster. Go fix it first. Leave the Border Patrol alone. Everybody comes out, well, he's a racist. When you look at everything, nothing. Except a city in despair, and maybe it'll get some attention now. Even Rahm Emanuel, Gateway Pundit article from Jim Hoft. Rahm Emanuel warns Democrats their open borders, free health care for legal agenda is crazy stupid. But that's what they're running on. Lastly, we're going to finish up here. President Trump has had a good couple weeks, okay? Last week, the Supreme Court ruled that the $2 billion that he asked to be relocated from the Department of Defense budget to build better wall, to actually put wall where there's dilapidated, basically non-existent wall in California, Texas, and Arizona. It was tied up in courts, and the Supreme Court said, you know what, you can go ahead and use the $2 billion. Bam, that sets a precedent. Things are looking good. Supreme Court is functioning the way we needed it to. Then there was an article that there's Guatemalans and El Salvadorans that are being held in Mexico, Tijuana, because Mexico is considered a safe nation. So the people that came through Guatemala into Mexico did not apply for asylum, got to the border. The Mexico agreed that they would hold them in Mexico waiting for the asylum hearing to come up in the U.S. And they're saying, you know what? It's not worth it. It's more dangerous here than back home, so we're just going to go home. 2 for 2, right? All right, let's do a little clap. All right. Here's some more good news to finish up the show. Now remember, focus on freedom. Religious rights, gun rights, freedom from unwarranted and searches, etc. All 10 Bill of Rights. But the Trump, this is from LA Times, Trump administration, Guatemala signs a pact barring migrants from claiming asylum in the U.S. Woohoo! So what does that mean? President Trump shakes hands with Guatemala Interior Minister Enrique Degenhardt and as acting Homeland Security Secretary Kevin McLean stands by after signing the agreement requiring asylum seekers crossing Guatemala to make their claims there instead of in the U.S. Guatemala, El Salvador, Venezuela, anyone coming through, if they're coming through Guatemala, they have to apply for asylum in the U.S. or asylum in Guatemala. If they get turned down, then from there they can try to apply for asylum here. Guatemala signed an agreement with the Trump administration that would require asylum seekers transitioning the Central American country to make their claims there instead of the U.S. U.S. President Trump said Friday, quote, "We've been long working with Guatemala. Now we can do it the right way," unquote. Trump said in the Oval Office, quote, "This landmark agreement will put the coyotes and smugglers out of business," unquote. He continued, quote, "These are bad people." President Trump looked on as acting Homeland Security Kevin McLean and signed the document alongside Guatemala Interior Minister Enrique Degenhardt. In a statement released on Twitter, the Guatemalan government confirmed that it entered into the agreement. He tweeted, "Guatemala is definitely clear on the responsibility that it has," said Degenhardt. McLean had told reporters after leaving the White House that steps needed to be taken in Guatemala to authorize the deal, but that he expects that it would be into effect in August. The agreement all faces legal challenges in the U.S. immigrant. The agreement may also face legal challenges in the U.S. immigrant advocates, as they say that Guatemala cannot be considered safe and has no adequate means to process tens of thousands of asylum applications. Oh, no. And we do? We have adequate means to process? No, we don't. So they're going to try to say Guatemala can't. So Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador. That was the other country I was trying to remember. Currently account for 30% of all those apprehended at the U.S. southern border, about 205,000 people this fiscal year. Hondurans are 30%. Who's got caught? Salvadorans, 10%. A Honduran family coming across to Guatemala to the U.S. border. We want them to feel safe to proclaim protection at the earliest point possible, McLennan said. Instead of putting themselves in the hands of smugglers all the way to the U.S., they would be removable back to Guatemala. Good news. So, fight for freedom, First Amendment, Second Amendment, all the Bill of Rights. Let's get back in line with the Constitution. And like the Declaration of Independence said, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and let's live under the freedoms that we've been given because of the lives of people that have died so that we could have them. It's a good day. We got our hands full. President Trump's not a racist. Baltimore's a pit. And just tell your friends and family, go look up the facts and then get back with me. So you guys have a great day. This is Eric Thompson, the Informant. I'll see you on megabook.com. Take care.
This is the seditious, rabble-rousing, liberty-loving, home of fun, entertaining, and compelling talk. Mojo 50.
Here it comes again. Lunch. Will it be the same old, same old? Or are you ready to take a vacation from the ordinary with the new Jamaican Jerk Turkey Sub at Firehouse Subs? Freshly sliced smoked turkey breast, craveably sweet mustard sauce, and a hint of Caribbean seasoning. Just $5.55 for a medium. Save time. Order the new Jamaican Jerk Turkey Sub on the Firehouse Subs app. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs. Save more lives. Participating locations. Limited time only, plus tax. Prices may vary for delivery.